Legacy CRM platforms have made you compromise for far too long. With HubSpot's CRM platform, you don't have to choose between enterprise tools that are powerful or easy to use. It gives you both, so your marketing, sales, and service teams can align with ease, accelerate sales, and anticipate every customer need. Finally, there's a CRM platform that helps you run better so you can grow better, without complexity ever getting in the way. Learn more at HubSpot.com. Legacy CRM platforms have made you compromise for far too long. With HubSpot's CRM platform, you don't have to choose between enterprise tools that are powerful or easy to use. It gives you both, so your marketing, sales, and service teams can align with ease, accelerate sales, and anticipate every customer need. Finally, there's a CRM platform that helps you run better so you can grow better, without complexity ever getting in the way. Learn more at HubSpot.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. You know, I thought this morning we'd take a trip back and we'd talk a little bit more about Jeffrey Epstein and his weird-ass idea about turning the Zorro Ranch into a baby-making factory. Now, obviously, we covered this when it first broke in July, of 2019. And first it was the New York Times had a pretty big article on it, and I believe that's the one we covered. But tonight we're going to look back at an article from the New York Post that goes over Jeffrey Epstein and the plan to turn Zorro Ranch into a baby-making factory. What sort of weird-ass whack job thinks about impregnating women with his seed and trying to seed the human race with his DNA, especially a sick bastard like this? This is like some straight up Nazi eugenics type shit in my opinion, and it's weird. I'm not a fan of anything like this. Eugenics in general is just a very weird type of science, and I think that the manipulation that people like Jeffrey Epstein talk about, and obviously the weird shit the Nazis were into, is just beyond the pale. And I think when it comes to stuff like eugenics, it's a very slippery slope, right? So a guy like Jeffrey Epstein, especially being involved in a eugenics project, is enough to sound alarm bells and make them ring very, very loud, because the dude was very sick, very, very demented, and he's the last person we need seeding the human race with their DNA. This article is from the New York Post, and the headline, Jeffrey Epstein wanted to turn New Mexico Ranch into a baby-making factory. This article was authored by Bruce Golding, and it was published on July 31st of 2019. Now again, why the hell has Zorro Ranch, the New Mexico Ranch, not been raided? You got this guy who was telling people at dinners and anybody who would listen basically that he wants to turn his ranch in New Mexico into a impregnation factory. Well, I mean, I don't understand what he's going to turn it into, a place where he is seeding women with his DNA. And nobody found that odd. Nobody found that weird that was at these dinner parties with him. Nobody stood up and said, Jeffrey, what are you sick, dude? What are you talking about? Of course they didn't, because they were all fellow travelers. And still, to this day, Zorro Ranch has not yet been raided. What the F is hidden at Zorro Ranch, and why has it not been raided? Jeffrey Epstein dreamed of improving humanity by using his sperm to impregnate scores of women at his New Mexico ranch, and also wanted his penis and head frozen after death so they could eventually be reanimated, according to a report Wednesday. Now we're talking like some Dr. Frankenstein, weird, wild shit here. Reanimate my head? They should have, if that's the case and it was possible, they should have sewed his head onto like a pig's body and let him go wallow around in the muck in some shitbag swamp somewhere. That's where he belongs. Reanimate your head. The only reason I'd want you reanimated is so that we could see you die all over again. Reanimate. I mean, these people are sick, and it just goes in to show you the hubris that they have and their narcissism. They think that the world is a much better off place with them in it. They think that the world would be a much better off place with their DNA seeding all kinds of women. Meanwhile, the rest of us, the 99% of us that aren't weird-ass draconian spirit cookers, we're all sitting around like, what in the is wrong with these people, and how the hell have they gotten away with it? Two award-winning scientists and an advisor to large companies and wealthy individuals told the New York Times that the since-disgraced multimillionaire financier, pedophile, shared his plan for a baby-making factory in the desert on multiple occasions starting in the early 2000s. So, multiple occasions, huh? After the first time you heard this idiot talking about a baby-making factory at Zorro Ranch, you didn't think it was a good idea to kick rocks and not be around this dude ever again? You thought it was like, you know what? That's not so weird. Everybody talks about having a baby-making factory and seeding scores of women with their sperm. Just a typical, regular day at the office. Or, in reality, for most of us, somebody would talk about that shit at a corporate dinner, or, you're sitting around BSing and they bring this shit up. You'd be like, what are you talking about? Seeding dozens of women with your sperm? What are you on, DMT? You've been watching the Joe Rogan show, eating elk jerky and doing DMT? Is that what's going on here? Because you have to be on some sort of hallucinogenics to think that any normal person's going to sit around and not look at you crooked. If you're talking about having a baby making factory and seeding dozens of women, what does that even mean? Computer scientist and writer Jaron Lanier also told the Times that he once spoke to a scientist who related how Epstein's goal was to have 20 men at a time impregnated at his 33,000 square foot Zorro Ranch outside Santa Fe. Again, what the hell happened at Zorro Ranch, and what secrets are buried on that property? That property should be completely excavated at this point. Who the hell knows what went on there? What sort of weird occult type of shit occurred? Look, I'm the first one that rolls his eyes when people start in on the occult stuff for the most part, right? Up until this case, I was like, yeah, okay, sure, that's some weird ass shit for the ID channel. That's not happening at the highest levels of government or with rich people, but in the last year and a half, the more I've studied and the more I've looked into this case and the behavior of people like Jeffrey Epstein and those that spend time with him and hang out with him, look, man, that's a part of this case that certainly deserves a good hard look at. And like I told you folks previously a few months ago, I am not capable of that, right? That's not my forte. I'm pretty skeptical about that shit for the most part. But there is a lot of evidence that there was a lot of ties to the occult here with Jeffrey Epstein, with signs and different things that occurred. So I think that the whole entire thing at Zorro Ranch was super creepy. I think obviously talking about seeding these women, super creepy. And the fact that these people would sit around and they would listen to this guy's moronity and they would come back for more of it and act like it's just normal talk says a lot about them as well. Lanier, who's been dubbed the godfather of virtual reality, said he spoke to the scientist who told him she worked at NASA during a dinner party at Epstein's Upper East Side townhouse. That's nice. All these people that went to Epstein's townhouse, you had NASA people there, you have scientists, academics, politicians, princes, newscasters, news people, you name it. And none of these people have ever really been called onto the carpet for their relationship with Epstein. And again, I'm not saying these people were all involved as far as the trafficking ring goes, but the enabling of Jeffrey Epstein is something that you have to answer for. There's no getting around that. There's no hiding from that at this point. Lanier said the scientists told him that Epstein was inspired by the Repository for Germinal Choice, a controversial sperm bank stocked by high-achieving white males, reportedly including as many as 5 Nobel Prize winners, that operated in California from 1979 to 1999. Oh yeah, what could possibly go wrong? Inspired by a repository for high-achieving white males, as if that means anything. All of these people that are so caught up about the color and all of this weird shit, I'll never understand it. I will never ever understand it. You're not better than anybody because you're a white. What are you, crazy, dude? What do you think? You're smarter than somebody because you're white? Jeffrey Epstein. You're not, okay? And Jeffrey Epstein was an obvious racist, obvious classist, and an obvious sexist. The dude was sick in his brain, and like I say all the time, chemical castration and burial underneath the jail after his trial would have been acceptable in my opinion, but him being dead, well, if it wasn't for the fact that got him out of facing justice, then believe me, I wouldn't have talked about his death for one more second. People like that, I don't want to share air with people like that. Lanier told The Times he suspected that Epstein, a convicted pedophile who was busted July 6th on child sex trafficking charges and has pleaded not guilty, used his dinner parties to screen attractive women with impressive academic credentials as potential mothers for his children. Yo, I remember when we were talking about this, and it's definitely very logical, right? Get other people in so-called polite society, some of these women who... Look, we don't know what's going on in these people's brains. These people might be just as sick as Jeffrey Epstein. We don't know. All right? But what I will tell you is this. The little look that we have had into so-called polite society, well, this doesn't surprise me. I wouldn't be shocked for a minute to see Jeffrey Epstein using functions like this to try and get, prospective mothers for his weird-ass DNA-seeded children. And it's just par for the course with this guy, with how weird he was and how he operated so brazenly with his disgusting wants and needs. And that's why, again, I have a very hard time when people act like they didn't know what he was up to, like they didn't know what he was doing. You all knew, and we all know you knew. The Times report didn't make clear whether Epstein planned to have sex with the women or rely on artificial insemination, but said there's no evidence he made good on the ego-driven scheme. Well, I never heard that he did make good on it, right? The thought that he wanted to do it was enough. Now, did he freeze some sperm somewhere and it's on in Zorro Ranch in some sort of frozen refrigerator? I have no idea. Is it possible? Of course. When you have this kind of money, anything is possible. When you have this kind of money, I can't put anything beyond your power or your grasp. And we know Jeffrey Epstein had all kinds of weird shit shipped to him on the island. Dentist chairs, cement trucks, you name it. So... Epstein, 66, was also fascinated with the unproven science of cryogenics, in which people's bodies or body parts are frozen at very low temperatures so they can be brought back to life in the future, the Times said. That's like some shit from like a science fiction novel, right? We're going to go on an interstellar journey. We're going to go into this hypersleep for 15 years, and when we get onto the other side, we'll go ahead and wake you up. Now, look, I'm certainly no scientist, right? Is it possible that this shit works? Maybe so at some point. But Jeffrey Epstein was very, very caught up in all of these wild-ass, weird, scientific fantasies, right? A source described as an adherent of transhumanism, the belief that human evolution can be furthered through science and technology, told the paper that Epstein described wanting to have his penis and head cryogenically preserved. What? Imagine sitting down and having the conversation with this guy. Yeah, bruh. I want to have, like, my head and, like, my penis when I'm dead, like, chop them off and we could just, like, freeze them. And, like, I'm totally into, like, transhumanism anyway, so that'll be, like, totally cool. I mean, can you imagine the conversation? And imagine being on the other end of the conversation, not Epstein, but the other person that he's talking to. And not saying to yourself, what in the F is wrong with this guy? Epstein cultivated relationships with elite scientists, including the late theoretical physicist Stephen Hawking and the late Nobel Prize winner Murray Gell-Mann, who discovered the quark to pursue his interests in controlled breeding and other fringe theories, the Times said. Definitely with Murray Gell-Mann, they were super tight. And Murray Gell-Mann was a big, big influence on Jeffrey Epstein, and someone that was very close to Jeffrey Epstein, and was probably a big influence on Jeffrey Epstein when it came to this transhumanism and all this other weird-ass shit. Because I have a hunch that Murray Gell-Mann has some skeletons in the closet as well. This was one of Jeffrey Epstein's mentors, folks. Those relationships continued even after Epstein struck a controversial 2008 plea bargain over allegations he had sexually abused scores of underage girls at his waterfront mansion in Palm Beach, Florida, the Times said, and in 2011, an Epstein charity gave $20,000 to the Worldwide Transhumanist Association, now known as Humanity Plus. So with, like, the transhumanism, it's just weird to me. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to, like, have human beings who have cybernetics installed on them, and they have special computers placed into their brain that acts as a CPU. I'm not comfortable with that shit. Maybe I'm getting too old. Maybe being born in 1980 is too old for that shit. Because, folks, I am not comfortable with T-3000s running around and shit, alright? Cool, I'll pass on that. I saw that movie, I saw how it ended, and I'm not a fan. The since-shuttered charity also donated $100,000 to pay the salary of Humanity Plus Vice Chairman Ben Gortzel, who told the Times in an email that, I have no desire to talk about Epstein right now. The stuff I'm reading about him in the papers is pretty disturbing and goes way beyond what I thought his misdoings and kinks were. Yuck, he added. Oh, well, now you say that, right? Right when this stuff started coming out in July, Mr. Gortzel, of course, well, I had no idea what Epstein was. And now that I'm reading in the news what he did and what he was, it's sickening to me. I can't believe it. Yuck. Yeah, okay, sure, nobody buys it. But the fact that he's sitting around talking about whacking his ding-dong off and putting it in a freezer, chopping his dome piece off, putting that in a freezer, that's cool, no big deal. That's just par for the course, normal conversation around these parts. Stop it, Mr. Gortzel. You knew what Jeffrey Epstein was. Stop playing the fool. Epstein's defense lawyers didn't return a request for comment, the Times said. So look, folks, with the time, it being so slow in the last couple of days with the Epstein news, considering the election and all of the tomfoolery going on around that, I figured it would be a perfect time to jump back and talk a little bit more about this transhumanism stuff and the baby making and trying to seed humanity with his DNA. It's just so absurd and so odd that I thought that jumping back to it and adding it to the catalog once again was a good idea. And also, it brings Zorro Ranch back into the conversation. And as you all know, I'm going to try and make it a point to bring up Zorro Ranch as much as possible until this place gets raided. There is no reason that this place is not raided. There is no reason that there has not been law enforcement officials going through this place with a fine-toothed comb. Why not? There is no good logical answer for me that has been given to me, I should say, that would make me say, oh, okay, well, that makes sense, because that is not the case. You have the Palm Beach mansion about to be sold. The townhouse about to be sold at some point. Zorro Ranch, is it even on the market? I haven't heard anything about that. Let's get this shit on the market, rated first, then on the market. Because there is a huge hidden story yet to be told at Zorro Ranch. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI at protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. All of the links that go with this episode, including the PayPal link, can be found in the description box. And to those of you who have donated to the PayPal account, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, everybody. I will be back later on tonight, and we will pick this back up and see where we're at.
Legacy CRM platforms have made you compromise for far too long. With HubSpot CRM platform, you don't have to choose between enterprise tools that are powerful or easy to use. It gives you both, so your marketing, sales, and service teams can align with ease, accelerate sales, and anticipate every customer need. Finally, there's a CRM platform that helps you run better so you can grow better, without complexity ever getting in the way. Learn more at HubSpot.com. Legacy CRM platforms have made you compromise for far too long. With HubSpot CRM platform, you don't have to choose between enterprise tools that are powerful or easy to use. It gives you both, so your marketing, sales, and service teams can align with ease, accelerate sales, and anticipate every customer need. Finally, there's a CRM platform that helps you run better so you can grow better, without complexity ever getting in the way. Learn more at HubSpot.com.